Hi everyone. Good evening. This is Sudarshan Govindan. I'm a developer advocate at IBM. Today's webinar is IBM Bluemix Runtime. So what is Bluemix? Uh, Bluemix is IBM's innovative open standards cloud computing platform that combines platform as a service with infrastructure as a service for building, running, and managing applications. It has a rich catalog of cloud services that can be easily integrated with PaaS and IaaS to build business applications rapidly. Bluemix has cloud deployments that fit your needs, whether you are a small business that plans to scale or a large enterprise that requires additional isolation. You can develop in a cloud without borders, where you can connect your private services to the public Bluemix services available from IBM. You and your team can access the apps, services, and infrastructure in Bluemix and use existing data, systems, processes, PaaS tools, and IaaS tools. Developers can tap into the rapidly growing ecosystem of available services and runtime frameworks to build applications using polyglot programming approaches. With Bluemix, you no longer have to make large investments in hardware to test out or run a new app. Instead, we manage it all for you and only charge for what you use. Bluemix provides public, dedicated, and local integrated deployment models. Next, Bluemix enables you to deploy high-performance compute and storage infrastructure in secure IBM cloud data centers around the world. So we have different data centers like US South, Germany, UK, and Sydney. Test and adopt a broad range of cloud services and capabilities from IBM, open source communities, and third-party developers. Connect to all of your legacy systems and apps from a single, scalable cloud platform through private network and API capabilities. Spin up and turn down resources in real time as your business needs or workload demands change. Options to run your apps. So Bluemix provides a lot of options to run your apps. For example, boilerplates. Basically, a boilerplate is a template for an application and its associated runtime environment and predefined services for a specific domain. And then it provides a runtime. So today we are going to see what is a Bluemix runtime. A runtime is a set of resources used to run an app provided as containers for different types of apps. And Bluemix also provides a container service to run Docker containers in a hosted cloud environment. Bluemix also provides OpenWhisk for distributed event-driven computing. As you know, OpenWhisk runs application logic in response to events or direct invocations from web or mobile apps over HTTP. Let me show you the Bluemix catalog. So you log into Bluemix, which is the cloud platform. And then after you log in, you see a catalog, right? There's a section called catalog, where all the 130 plus unique services are available for consumption. So you have different categories like infrastructure, apps, and services. So under infrastructure, you can see you have compute. Under compute, you have VMware solutions, bare metal server. In storage, you have block storage, cloud object storage, file storage too. Again, in the network, you can have can provision a domain name service. You can do a local load balancing, and you can also consume Citrix NetScaler. And then under security, you have a few services. And coming to apps, you have boilerplates, right? For example, Java, a boilerplate. Then you have a Node.js, and then you have like Node-RED for the IoT stuff. And then coming to Cloud Foundry apps, again, you have various SDKs for Java, Node.js, ASP.NET, etc. Coming to containers, you can make use of a Kubernetes cluster. And then we talked about the OpenWhisk, right? So you can execute the code on demand in a serverless environment. Again, and you have mobile apps, means the services for your mobile app, like you can make use of the mobile analytics, mobile foundation, push notifications. And then in the services section, right, you have data and analytics, like you have Spark, Apache Spark, Cloud and NoSQL database, DB2, and a lot of services under that section. Again, coming to the Watson cognitive services, you have a conversation service, discovery service, document conversion, natural language understanding. Then we have personality traits. So a lot of services available in the Watson. Similarly, on the IoT, you can see that what do you call, like there are highlighted, like not only IBM services are hosted, the IBM Bluemix platform also hosts third-party services. And then you have a few more services under various sections, like in DevOps, you can do a continuous delivery, you can do a monitoring, and then you can actually monitor the API calls. A lot of services in IBM Bluemix. So what's a runtime? Runtimes are based on Bluemix Cloud Foundry, of which IBM is both a founding and platinum member. They ensure that the build and deploy aspects of coding remain carefully coordinated with any attached services, resulting in quick, consistent, and reliable iterating of applications in production. Runtimes get innovative ideas to market fast with reduced development costs. They level the field of opportunity so that any organization can keep up with or set a new pace of market transformation. Runtimes support stateless processes and promote application fault tolerance and scalability. One can quickly start and stop, replicate if an instance fails, and duplicate if sustained or increased performance requires. Runtimes link the various Bluemix services to applications deployed on Bluemix as endpoints, giving any instance of an application embedded knowledge of how to manage relevant calls and data. In fact, runtimes manage all linked resources through SDKs, APIs, whether made available as Bluemix services or exposed from within a traditional enterprise as custom services, and also applications themselves when used as resources by other applications. So we have the various runtimes provided by the IBM Bluemix. For example, the Java, PHP, Node.js, Python, Ruby, Swift, Go, ASP.NET Core, and community buildpacks. Combined with DevOps services, the application runtimes enable a delivery pipeline that can automate much of the iterative development process. This is the Cloud Foundry architecture. So in general, you don't have to worry about the operating system and infrastructure layers when running apps on Bluemix in Cloud Foundry. Layers such as root file systems and middleware components are abstracted, so you focus only on your application code. As a developer, you can interact with the Bluemix infrastructure by using a browser-based user interface. You can also use a Cloud Foundry command line interface called CF to deploy web apps. Bluemix also provides another command line interface called Bluemix, which is a wrapper around the Cloud Foundry command line interface called Bluemix. So that also can be installed and to manage the apps, to start an app or a service, to stop, to restart, to deploy, and even to find the the logs from a running application. Clients, which can be mobile apps or apps that run externally, apps that are built on Bluemix, or developers that are using browsers, interact with the Bluemix hosted apps. Clients can use REST or HTTP APIs to route requests through Bluemix to one of the app instances or the composite services. I will take you through some steps to get started on Bluemix with the help of a sample application. So we will get started with how to create, deploy, and then run a Node.js application on Bluemix. So we will make use of the Node.js runtime provided by Bluemix. So in 10 minutes or less, you will learn to set up a development environment, download sample code, run the application locally. You can also run the application on Bluemix Cloud Foundry. Then we will connect to a Bluemix database service. We will enhance the app, a simple app, by connecting to a NoSQL cloud and database from the local app. Overall flow of this Node.js runtime that we will see today. So once you have these steps down, you will be on your way to build your next cool app on Bluemix Cloud. The code is written to be very simple to enable new developers to get up to speed quickly and with ease. So you have a UI accessed through a browser, and then you connect to the Bluemix, right? So the entire flow is what you're seeing on the screen now. So what the sample application will do is it asks the user for the name. If the application is not connected to a database, it will respond with hello, followed by the name. Once the application is connected to a database, it replies with hello, followed by whatever name we have entered. And then one more sentence, I have added you to the database, and then save the name to the database. It will also show a list of names already in the database in the form of an array. So it's a great starter app that you can build on to create your next app. So in the demo, the Node.js application will make use of Express framework to provide a REST API to receive requests from the UI. And also the API uses some Node modules, like for example, Node Cloud Foundry env package to read the database credentials. And also we make use of Node.js Cloud and Client library to connect to the Cloud and database. So what are the prerequisites? You should have a Bluemix account. So if any of you do not have a Bluemix account, you can register yourself in http bluemix.net. So right now we have a 30-day free trial. And then you also need to install a Cloud Foundry command line interface. You get an installer for the operating system that you use. For example, I'm using a Mac OS, so you can install if you have a Windows or a Linux. And then any Git UI tool. So I'm more comfortable with the GitHub Desktop, which is very user-friendly and very simple app. And then you install the Node binary from Node.js website. So when you install Node, even the package manager, Node package manager, npm also gets installed. You can install the latest version or the most recent stable version. So let's go to the demo. Okay, so what we will do is actually we will clone from an existing repo. Again, this repo is available on the public GitHub, so you can always clone it, or you can fork it, or download it to use it. So what I would do is, like, there is actually a green button, clone or download. So I click on that, and then I click on open in desktop. So what it will do is it will launch the GitHub desktop on my Mac, and then it will try to clone the repo to my local machine. So I'll just do a clone. So it's a simple app, not many artifacts. So you get it on your local machine. And then what I do is, let's I go to that folder where I have downloaded. Okay. So the root folder name is get started node. Okay, I have everything here. And then what I do is, like, I try to install all the dependencies mentioned in the package.json file. So if you look at the root folder structure, there is something called package.json file. So here you usually mention all the dependencies used by the application. For example, if you look at this code, node server.js, that is the starting point. So server.js is a JavaScript file which is started by the node. And then it has some dependencies like for body parser, cfenv for Cloud Foundry environment, and then Cloudent module or a package to connect to the Cloudent database. And then you have Express, which is a web server. So you can list whatever dependencies that your application uses in the package.json. Okay, I'll just come back to the demo portion. So I'll do it once again. Okay, so what I did actually was to there's a GitHub repo called Get Started Node. So I cloned it to my local machine using the GitHub desktop app. Okay, so here you can see the Get Started Node repo. And then I went into the root folder structure Get Started Node, and then I'm trying to install all the dependencies from the package.json. So package.json is the file where you mention all the dependencies, dependent node modules or libraries that your application will make use of. Like for example, the Express web server, then Cloudant library to connect to the Cloudant database, as well as to read information from the Cloud Foundry environment on Bluemix. So we have all the libraries mentioned in the package.json. So on my terminal or on your, if it is a Windows machine, on your command prompt, okay. So you go to the location where you have downloaded the repo, get started node, and then after installing Node as well as the Cloud Foundry command. See, Cloud Foundry command line interface I've already installed. After you install, you can check for the version. So it should, okay, it says incorrect usage. Okay, so it will list some version number. So that means the Cloud Foundry is installed properly. Then what I would do is like I will do an npm install. So this will install all the dependencies mentioned in the package.json file. Okay. So now all the dependencies are installed. So you can see that do a ls -l. So there will be a folder called node_modules created. So you can see all the dependencies, libraries that are installed here. Okay, then I will run the app. So what you do is npm space start. So npm start. So what it does is it runs locally, and then we can view the app locally on a browser. Yeah, so it says what is your name. So for example, I write Raj Kumar. Okay, so it says hello Raj Kumar. So right now it is not connected to the database. So any other name that you type in, like Vishnuvardhan, so it just outputs the whatever name that we have entered. So now let us see how to connect to the database, right? So before going to that, let us see one file called manifest.yml. So here you list out all the services or apps that your app will connect to or bind to on the Bluemix. So this is a simple app. So just the name of the app is Get Started Node, and then the Bluemix will assign a host name. So here the random route is set to true. So every time you deploy, so it gives a different host name, which you use it on the browser. But you can make it static. So you can have you can explicitly give a host name, and then you can set your memory and other details here in this YAML file. Okay. So what we do is now we are going to deploy the app to Bluemix. So I go to the terminal. So I open one more session here. I don't want to disturb that. Okay. So I am under the root project folder, Get Started Node. Okay. So I do cf API space and the endpoint. Like as I mentioned earlier, right? So Bluemix data centers are in 4 locations across the geography: US South, United Kingdom, Sydney, and Germany. So let us make use of US South's endpoint. So that is https api.ng.bluemix.net. So it sets the API endpoint to whatever URL that we are given. And then the next steps talks about logging to your Bluemix account. I've already logged into my Bluemix account. So once you log into a Bluemix account, it would ask you to select the region, any of the 4 regions, and also an organization as well as space. So organization is kind of a logical container where you can have multiple spaces like development, UAT, production, and then you deploy your apps and services to whatever space that you require. For example, this is my dashboard, my Bluemix dashboard. So on the top right corner, so it shows the account details, the region. I'm connected to the US South region. My organization is, I've given my email ID. You can have any text here. It can be your email ID or it can be a text. And then the space is dev. So you can have multiple spaces within an organization. And also you can have multiple organizations within a region. Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, so if you have not authenticated before, right, when you do a CF login, it will ask for your username and password, and then it logs into the Bluemix account. And then to deploy the app, I do CF space push. So it uses the information from the manifest.yml, and then it tries to deploy the app in that particular region. For example, in this case, it is US South, and the organization is my email ID, and the space as dev. I've given the space as dev. So it creates the route or the host name. For example, since we have given random is equal to true, so it has given a URL called get started node -futile click .mybluemix.net. Usually the routes generated by Bluemix will end with .mybluemix.net, and then it binds that route to the app name, and then it executes a series of steps. It also downloads any build packs if required. So since we make use of Node.js, right? So Bluemix will take care of everything. Like it'll see what dependencies are there, and it'll try to install. Like we installed all the Node modules locally on our machine, right? Earlier, Bluemix actually would do a similar step on its environment. Okay, so it's actually once it is deployed, it'll also try to restart the app. And then once the app is deployed, right, you can actually see the list of apps by issuing a command cf space apps. So so the app is started, so it's all green. So no failures. Looks like there's no failures, and yeah, it's success. So I do cf space apps. So it gets all the apps in the organization as well as the space. So right now we have only one app called Get Started Node. So in your Bluemix dashboard, right? So once you deploy the application and then you refresh your dashboard, you should see the app. Yeah, here we see the name is Get Started Node, and we have the route, whatever the memory that was mentioned in the manifest.yml file. And then what is it state? It is running in the green color. Okay. So now the next step actually would be to add a database, right? NoSQL database, and improve upon our application. So you click on the app on the dashboard. So it'll take you to the details, the application details. So where we have different sections like the runtime, connections. So in the overview section, you can see the runtime is Node.js buildpack, and there's one instance running with 256 MB memory. And then since we're using like there are different pricing plans in Bluemix, right? the default is like a light or free or the basic one. Then you have a standard one, and then you pay as you go. So right now it is on the free plan. So the runtime cost is like ₹0. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to connect to an connect new. So we want to connect to a database service, right? So you go to data and analytics section. So there you see clouded NoSQL DB. Click on that. Okay, and then here for every service or app from the Bluemix catalog, right? As I said, we have different plans, right? The light plan is free. Basically, it comes with 1 GB of data storage, then 20 lookups per second. So all this information are mentioned here. So then you can create a name. So I just defaulting it to the whatever name it provides. So I say click on create. So what this will do is from the app, right? It will create a NoSQL cloud and database. Okay, that's fine. Okay, yeah. So if you come to the dashboard, right, you can see that cloud and NoSQL database service is created. So we just need to make sure that this service is bound to this app. So you click on the app again, and then you go to connection section. Looks like it has not bound. So there's something called connect existing. So I'm going to connect to the service that was recently created. So then it comes up with a message saying that you have to restage. That's fine. So after binding the service to the app, it restages and then restarts the app. Okay. Okay. There is something called view credentials section here. So the cloud and NoSQL database credentials like username, password, host, the URL to access it from your code, everything is over here. So I'm just copying the URL. Okay, let me check the runtime. Yeah, so whatever the service credentials for the NoSQL cloud and database is available as vcap_services in the app, within the app. So you can see it over here. It's in the form of a JSON. Okay, so the credential information. So what we do is we are going to create one file called vcap local-.json with the following content. Okay, so you can look at this one. This one that is already provided in the repo. Okay, so I will copy the value of the URL. Okay. Okay, now it looks good. I'm just saving it, vcap-local.json. So that will be on the under the root structure, root folder. Okay, and then I'm going to run the application again. So the application is running on this session. So I'm just going to stop it. So I'm doing a Control-C. I'm stopped it. So I will run it again. So what the application will do is, since we have created a local JSON file, right, vcap-local.json, So it connects to the Cloud and NoSQL database service, right? And then the credentials are taken from this URL. Basically, this URL is composed of Cloud and database username :password followed by the host name, right? So it says it's loaded the local vcap. So let us check out this in the browser. Oh, it's already there. So let us refresh it. Okay, so let us write. Okay, it says that Shivakumar is added to the database. And it also lists the database, means the contents of the database, right? Like you add one more name, right? For example, Mary. So it stores the value in the database and then queries it, and then it shows it on the UI. So we have successfully actually deployed an app, a Node.js app on Bluemix, and we have also connected to a database, and we have seen how it is working. So sometimes you would face problems in whatever runtime, whether it is a Java runtime or a Node.js runtime. So for example, you might experience problems when you use the runtimes. For example, the obsolete build pack used when an app is pushed. So in many cases, you can recover from these problems by following a few easy steps. You will not be able to use the latest build pack components when you push an app. You can use build packs that have built-in mechanism to prevent loading obsolete components, or you can delete the contents in your app's cache directory before you push or restage the app. So what's happening here? So when you push or restage an app after the build pack is updated, the latest build pack components are not loaded automatically. As a result, your app uses the obsolete build pack components from the cache. Updates that were applied to the build pack since the last time you pushed the app are not implemented. Why it's happening? Some build packs are not configured to automatically download all the updated components from the internet, that you always use the latest version. So how do we fix this issue? So you can use build packs that have built-in mechanisms to avoid loading the outdated components. For example, the Cloud Foundry Java build pack has a built-in mechanism to ensure that the latest version is always used. Similarly, the Cloud Foundry Node.js build pack uh, provides a similar functionality by using environment variables. For example, you want the Node.js runtime to download the node modules every time, right? So you can there's a variable called node_modules_cache, set the value to false. Similarly, if the build pack that you're using, if it doesn't provide any mechanism to load the latest components, so you can go to the, as I showed earlier, there's a node_modules folder under the root project structure. You can go and delete the contents in the cache directory and push the app again. The second problem that you would face in Bluemix runtime is like, for example, if you're using PHP build pack, is the notice messages, right? You will get a lot of messages and word called a notice in between it. So what's happening there? So when you push an app to Bluemix by using a PHP build pack, you see messages that contain that notice keyword. So why it's happening? In the PHP build pack, the error_log parameter defines the logging level. So by default, the value of the error_log parameter is std error space notice. So how do you fix it? So the notice messages for information, and as such they don't indicate any problem. We can stop the logging of these messages by changing the logging level to standard std error space error in the nginx-defaults configuration file. Again, one more messages that you might see is one more problem that you might face is can't import a third-party Python library for using a Python runtime into Bluemix. So what you do is like when you try to import a third-party Python library, right? For example, web.py library, the cf push command, the deploy command will usually fail. So to resolve the problem, we have to add configuration files to the root directory of the Python app, right? So why it's happening? Because the configuration information for the Python app is missing. So how do you fix it? You can add a requirements.txt file and a proc file to the root directory of your Python app. So the requirements.txt file usually specifies the library packages that are required for the Python app and also the version of the packages. For example, here in the requirement.txt file, the web.py is 0.37. So indicates the version of the web.py library. And then WSGIREF is 0.1.2. It indicates a version of the web server gateway interface that is required by the web.py library. And then there's a proc file. So the proc file usually contains the start command of your Python app. So in that command, your app name is the name of your Python app, and port is the port number that your Python app that uses. Port is optional. If you don't specify port in the start command, the port number under the vcap app port environment variable, as I showed during the demo, right? There is a vcap underscore services a section within every app that is deployed on the Bluemix. So it will take the value from there. And then the next problem that you would face actually is credentials are required to open a trace or dump window. So what's happening is like a username and password are required to open the trace or dump window. So why it's happening? Probably because of a login session timeout. So how do you fix it? Enter the username and password again. And then the next message would be, error occurs when trace or dump operations are running. So what's happening? Like an error message is displayed when the trace or dump operations are running. So those indicate that the target instance for the app is not in a running state, right? So for some reasons, the color might not be green, as we saw in the Bluemix dashboard. So why it's happening? It can happen for two reasons. The trace or dump management capabilities are only for app instances that are running. So they can't be used on app instances that are stopped or started or starting. They're in the process of starting or crashed. And then the second reason would be the status of the app instance is changing when the trace or dump dialog is opened. So how do you fix it? You close the window, open it again. And then one more problem that you would face is the disk quota exceeded error, right? So you would see a lot of messages in the log of your app. So this usually happens for two reasons, like the dump files are generated within the running app instances and the files use up the allocated disk quota. So the second one is the disk quota is limited by your organization quota. Like so when you sign up for Bluemix, right, and then you have limits, right? So based on your organization's permissions, so your disk quota might be limited. And how do you fix it? Like you delete the dump files after they are downloaded, and then you redeploy the app with a bigger disk quota in the deployment manifest. So yeah, let us stay connected and continue coding. So we have all our code and instructions in these URLs. So let me go to first the IBM organization within the GitHub. So we have a lot of repositories. So most of the elements, like everything is out there for the developer community to download, to clone, to fork, to contribute back, to find bugs, like go ahead and make use of it. Similarly, Bluemix specific repositories are under this organization called IBM-Bluemix. So a lot of repos are there for the various technologies and languages and services. There's one more IBM Bluemix GitHub.io. So it features a lot of samples and where you can see right now the language uses JavaScript and whether the category is web and serverless, what services it makes use of, and this usually will be a demo. There will be a video tutorials also. So a lot of content for the developers to make use of, right? So, and then we have Bluemix page under developer.ibm.com. So one URL which you need to bookmark is developer.ibm.com. It has a lot of information on all the cool stuff that IBM is doing. So here, this page is exclusively for the Bluemix. And then you also have like various courses, like you can register yourself for a free 4-hour self-paced course. There are many cloud computing sources. and then a lot of developer works articles and tutorials, and some recipes also, sample code, example code, and then you have some events where you can see a list of events that are happening throughout the world with respect to Bluemix, and you can register and participate. And then we encourage you all to join the Developer Works India community. So again, here you have a lot of information for even for the students and for the academy, for the startups, right? And then again, the upcoming events are specific to India, and then a lot of blogs. And one good place actually to look out is the blog, where it's more like a developer works tutorials. So a lot of people have got not only the IBMers but also the general public developer community. After using the IBM services, they have published blogs and articles, so you can get a good perspective. And then there's something called developer journeys, right? So a developer journey is basically a complete asset for a specific use case and a domain. So you have journeys. So for example, if you are trying to develop a chatbot for a retail industry, right? And you don't know how to get started, so you can come over here to the journeys, and then these are like completely working code. For example, there's a cognitive banking chatbot, so you click on it. So the code is available on the GitHub, public GitHub, and then the instructions are given here, and also there's a demo, and the architecture also is explained. So you can use this as your boilerplate, and then you can enhance the features, and you can add in whatever stuff is required. So it's one very cool place for the developers, journeys basically. That's it. So we have come to the end of the webinar. So I'm open for questions now. I hope you enjoyed this a basic introduction to IBM Bluemix Runtime with a simple Node.js app. So to get you anxious, means like what you call curious, and then get going. Basically, you have a lot of advanced stuff also, like the IoT stuff, right? Serverless computing, and then you can Kubernetes, Docker images. So you log into the Bluemix, you look at the catalog. So, and there are more than 130 plus unique services which you can make use of. So that's it. So any questions, folks? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't. This window. Okay. It doesn't show which one came first. Okay. Okay. There's a question from Vikram Bodla saying how to get started with IoT. So Bluemix is the best place. Once you create an account with Bluemix, so you log into the Bluemix, then go to the catalog session, and then you have a lot of services under the for IoT. Okay. Okay. A lot of questions were about not able to see the screen. I apologize for that. Like some technical issue with the plugin. So okay, there's one question from Tausif Hashmi. Can we make Android app deployment in cloud? Yes, that's possible. So if you go to the catalog, right? So under apps, you have a mobile section, right? These are the different services on the server side, right? So you can make use of mobile first platform foundation, basically to create your Android app or iOS app or a hybrid app. Let me show that. So the product is available as an on-premise product also, mobile first foundation platform. So this is also available as a service, right? So you also get an editor, and then you can you choose your SDK, right, for iOS or Android or Windows or Cordova application. Okay, there's one question from Subhajit Karmakar. Is it open source and can we customize any functionality? Yeah, it's the entire Bluemix, the cloud platform, is based on open source standards from Cloud Foundry. So most of the services are available out of the box, but you can also customize some of the services, where we can uh, extend using extension points or hook points, but some of them are available as such to make use of it. And there's one question from Harshit Katta. Can we learn about machine learning? Yeah, sure. Like from the Developer Works website, right? You can search for machine learning, and there are a lot of tutorials and courses available for machine learning. Okay. So, any more questions, folks? This okay. One more question from Tausif Hashmi. It says, is it better for new developers, beginners to use Bluemix for app development? Yeah, um, it's mainly targeted for the developers, startups, and for all beginners. Like it's very simple to use, and there's a lot of documentation available. So whenever you create any app or service within Bluemix, right, like there is a related documentation, but it's pretty exhaustive. So and there are a lot of sample and example code also available. And you can also search in a Stack Exchange, a Stack Overflow, where people have posted a lot of questions with various stacks like IBM Bluemix, Watson services, IoT, you know, container service, etc. So, and again, like you can also come back to the Developer Works, a website where you have these tutorials, blogs, and all the recipes, the journeys website that I showed. They're all fully functioning assets, so you can just make use of them. And then I have one question from Shubham Singh. Where to get started for development of chatbots? So I would say, okay. So if you go to the Bluemix, when you log into Bluemix, right, you have under services, right, you have Watson, right? So there's a conversation service. Okay, so you click on that, and you can search on the Google also, right? So just put IBM Watson conversation service. So it'll show you the homepage. So example, you see the view docs here. So you have a documentation for all the services, right? Uh, so it gives you a step-by-step instruction. So how to create a Watson conversation service to build a chat bot. For example, uh, so if I type Watson conversation service, right? So you get a link, IBM Watson Developer Cloud. So here you can do that. You can see all the services here. For example, the under the language section, you have the conversation, document conversion, language translation, personality insights. Again, in speech, you have speech to text, text to speech, and data insights, you have a discovery. So everything's available over here in the Watson Developer Cloud. Okay, and then I have a question from Subhajit Karmakar. Is there anything related to Bluemix and Watson? I didn't quite get by this. So if you are meaning to like so in the Bluemix, right, like see Watson is actually what do you call it, is a set of APIs or services, which is a machine learning behind the scenes, right? It uses machine learning and deep what do you call like natural language understanding of a language, and then it provides a service. For example, you want to convert a speech to text or text to speech, or you want to create a chatbot. A conversation service will help you do that. And then suppose you want to analyze the chat transcripts, right, for different emotions. You have a tone analyzer. Then you can from blogs and from written text, right? You want to extract some personality traits. You have a personality analyzer. So there are different cognitive services available. Like they all come under Watson. So they are available to use from the Bluemix cloud platform. So you can use it uh, through a Bluemix, right? Once you have a Bluemix account, so you can almost all the services, right? Like they expose REST endpoints, so you can make use of them in your code and then call the services the after authentication, and then you can use the SDK. Suppose you write your code in Java, then you download the Watson Developer Cloud SDK for Java. If you use JavaScript, use the Node.js. Similarly for Swift, Python. So for different programming languages and environments, so we have SDKs. So if there are no questions, I think we can end this webinar. So I hope you found it useful to just get started. So there are a lot of things to explore and to discover and uh, make use of the various services available on the IBM Bluemix platform. So just go ahead, try it out. So the best way actually is to download code from GitHub, make some changes. You understand, go through the README. You play it with the code, and then you make the changes, and then you read. So that's how you tend to learn and understand the various services. So just only reading the documentation will not help. So you play with it, and then if there are any defects or features that you want, you can always contribute in the GitHub, right? You have a wiki section, and then mostly they have issues tracking also. So the IBM developers are actively looking for feedback from the development community. So go ahead and code. Yeah.